Hello, and thank you again for joining me for Third Act Stories. And today I'm going to be talking about the 1966 Batmobile. If you're in your 60s and you grew up in the 60s, then I can almost promise you the show that you watched was Batman. It was a comedy, kind of a tongue-in-cheek version of the comic book character starring Adam West and Burt Ward, but we all watched it as kids because we wanted to see the Batmobile. The show was a little bit psychedelic. It was avant-garde, it was artsy, it was weird, it was funny, all those things. But the car was serious. The car was a serious design car. It harkened back to all the crazy cars that were happening back in the 60s. The stuff by Big Daddy Ed Roth, the surf cars, the rat rods, all that fun stuff that was really amazing was all piled together in one car. And if you were my age and you were watching it back then, you didn't have anything that you could take to the sandbox and play with your friends and drive the Batmobile. The Batmobile really didn't have any toys or anything like that. The one thing it did have, that I remember anyway, was the Corgi Batmobile. This was it. This thing was a prized possession when I was a kid. The original one that I had was bashed to smithereens because it ran off roads, ran over bad guys, exploded. You know, all the windshields were broken out. Paint was torn off of it 10 different times. I painted it again several times, I think, as a kid. But this thing was really the thing that we really wanted as kids. And nowadays, you know, luckily a lot of us have gotten older, and people who've gotten older got some money and decided to recast these things. So you get brand new ones for less than 50 bucks. You know, used to when I was growing up, if you wanted one of these things, it'd cost you 500 bucks if it was in any kind of good shape. But the thing that this thing did is it fired rockets out the back. It had a blade on the front. When you rolled it, it had flame coming out of the back. And the other great thing is it came with a bat boat. I don't know if you ever saw the Batboat in the show, but, you know, I think it was in the movie. But it was just a great little extra addition, and we had fun with that too. Now, since that car has gotten more and more popular over the years, and there's been a lot of Batmobiles, but this car has really held its weight. It was originally a concept car Ford had produced, I think, back in the 50s. It was called a Lincoln Futura. And it didn't look much different than the way the Batmobile ended up looking. One of the great things about the car is it holds that mid-century design ethic. You know, all the lines are great, all the fun bubble canopies and all that stuff. You were seeing that kind of thing in a lot of custom cars back in the day anyway. So nowadays, you get this car in all different sizes. You get it in a small size, you can get it in a big size, and you can get it in an even bigger size. And this 1/18 scale, this is a Jada version, so it's a cheap version, not 100% accurate, but you know, it's a good size. My 1/18 scale by Mattel is the one that was the first big one that I got, and I put it in a display case, and I put a lenticular bat cave behind it because that's just what I do. And anyway, it was really neat because that was one of the first new versions of the Batmobile that was ever produced. And they went over and waxed the car down so it had a dull finish, and they actually scanned it with a laser scanner. So this 1/18 scale Mattel Batmobile is an exact copy of the full-size car. And I've seen the full-size car many times over the years. Taken pictures of it, I've been around it, but I've got a friend who's got an even bigger Batmobile that has an even bigger story to tell. And here is the 1/6 scale Batmobile.
Yeah, bigger is better. In this case, it's like we all started out with a little Corgi.
Yeah.
And then we worked our way up to, I guess, the Jada. And then we worked our way up to, what would be after that?
The Mattel.
The Mattel. And they actually had a nice Mattel version, which was...
It was a little bit bigger, about 1/10 scale. But
yeah.
I didn't show that Because I sold it off in one of my
I did too.
picture
Oh, well, for me,
salons.
the Mattel was great, but it had a couple things that were incorrect on it.
It had rubber tips on the end.
And also, these were vertical. These canopies are vertical.
Yeah, so you could get the toy in and out of it.
Yeah, I know, but they're not supposed to be vertical.
And as adults, we know how to get the toy in and out without.
By the way, I put the toys in once. I'm never taking them out.
Taking them out again.
I don't want to break the toy or break the car. The Batmobile and I have a history.
Yes, tell this history of you and the Batmobile.
The Batmobile began, for me, when I was 6 years old. I was watching Batman, and of course, to me, the star of the show was not Batman or Robin. It was the 1966 Batmobile. And I was just enamored by this thing back in the day. I used to watch it just for the car. I liked the show okay. Batman was fine. But, then again, it was kind of campy. And a lot of the stuff was not really written for kids, even though it kind of...
The car was it would fit in a campy show, but it was still a design perfection. I mean, the car just was so beautiful. It's still to this day is one of the most beautiful cars I think I've ever seen.
And if you ask people, what is that? They know, because it's just iconic. This is the most iconic movie TV car that's ever been produced. I had interviewed George Barris back in the 80s when I was working at a TV station here in Houston. And he had brought Kit and the General Lee and some other cars to the Autorama. And he and I kind of hit it off. I was a news photographer. I was not on air. I was a news photographer. And my inquiries kept going back to, when's the Batmobile coming? When's the Batmobile coming? How's the Batmobile? Where's the Batmobile?
When am I going to get to drive the Batmobile?
Well, the funny thing was, we went out drinking. He liked to drink. And at the time, I drank more than I do now.
He was a drinker and a fiend.
He wasn't a fiend. He was a drinker. But anyway, we went out, and George said to me, Matt, if I ever bring the Batmobile to Houston, I'll let you drive it. And that was like a 1980.
What a thing to hear from somebody.
That was 1982. I think it was maybe 82. What was 9-Rider? 82, 83? It was like 82, 83.
I don't know. I quit paying attention to cars after the Batmobile went off there.
So anyway, in 1995, lo and behold, George Barris brought the Batmobile to the World of Wheels or Autorama in Houston. And the amazing thing about that was it wasn't Batmobile number 2, Batmobile number 3, or Batmobile number 4, the replicas. It was the actual screen-used number 1 Batmobile that was used in the TV show. He let me drive it around the Astrodomain complex for about 20 minutes. I was
Can you see out of it?
Yeah. I was in heaven. I was driving the iconic Batmobile. It was a very heavy car. I remember the car was very heavy. It had ample power to kind of get it to go up and go. George was calm as anything. He didn't care that this car was valuable back in the day. I mean, 1995 is probably worth...
But he could fix anything that you busted probably on.
Well, apparently he could, because when Adam West drove it, he had repaired a lot. Because Adam West couldn't see with this cowl, and he would bang into the sides of the Batcave, or he'd bang into props and things and buildings.
And he overdrove it too.
He did overdrive it. It was designed with detail in mind, and it was designed with passion. The people that made this car made it to be a piece of art. And if you own one of these, you'll always treasure it, because it's just the most magnificent piece of art. It's a memorabilia piece to the heyday of 1966, and it's so much more. Everything about that period was magical to me when I was 6 years old, and the costumes were magical, the car was magical, everything about that was magical. And to actually own one and display it in your house, that's magical. So I love this car. It's great.
Have a wonderful day, and see you again next time on Third Act Stories.